So welcome back, everybody, to another Scripture and Smoke, and let me tell you, it is cold out here. The weather has been doing weird things. What was there, Sunday? It was really warm out because we had gotten a whole bunch of snow a few days before that. It all melted. I helped my dad move, and it was really, really muddy. Yesterday was actually pretty nice. Today, the temperature dropped. I mean, not a whole lot, but I mean, you can see my breath now. We got a little bit of a flurry. So, I mean, there's a little bit on the grass, but not that much. But it's windy and it's cold. You know, I don't think the weather wants to know what it's doing. But luckily, I got the nice long beard here. So today, we actually have a nice reading. This is actually the gospel reading for today. So this is March 1st of 2016. So I was just kind of looking to see what today's was. I was like, oh, this is perfect. You know, I really like this little parable on here. So this is actually taken from the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 18, verses 21 to 35. Peter approached Jesus and asked him, Lord, if my brother sins against me, how often must I forgive him? As many as 7 times? Jesus answered, I say to you, not 7 times, but 77 times. That is why the kingdom of heaven be likened to a king, who decided to settle accounts to his servants. When he began the accounting, a debtor was brought before him who owed him a huge amount. Since he had no way of paying it back, his master ordered him to be sold, along with his wife, his child, and all his property in payment of the debt. At that the servant fell down, did him homage, and said, Be patient with me, I will pay you back in full. Moved with compassion, the master of the servant let him go and forgive him his loan. When the servant had left, he found one of his fellow servants, who owed him a much smaller amount. He seized him and started to choke him, demanding, Pay back what you owe. Falling to his knees, his fellow servant begged him, Be patient with me, and I will pay you back. But he refused. Instead, he had him put in prison until he paid back the debt. Now when his fellow servants saw what had happened, they were deeply disturbed, and went to their master and reported the whole affair. His master summoned him and said to him, You wicked servant, I forgave you your entire debt because you begged me to. Should you not have had pity on your fellow servant, as I had pity on you? Then in anger, his master handed him over to the torturers until he should pay back the whole debt. So will my heavenly Father do to you, unless each of you forgives your brother from your heart. So I really like this passage. I mean, I just read the first few lines and I remember what it was, and so if we actually just look at the very beginning of this passage, you know, one thing that a lot of people try to do is, you know, count numbers in the Bible and try to figure out certain, you know, numbers and figures and stuff like that. And like they're not really supposed to be taken in that context. You know, when Jesus said, when Peter asked him, you know, how many times should he forgive his brother? He said 7 times, but Jesus said no, 77 times. That does not mean Jesus is just saying only forgive him that many times. Symbolically, 77 means infinite. You know, 7 was a very sacred number to the Jews and to us. You know, if we have 7 sacraments. You know, there's a lot of 7s, a lot of 3s in a lot of our stuff. So 7 times 7. You know, it's just like that's a very large amount. You know, that's infinite. So he's pretty much telling us always forgive our brothers. So, but then when we actually go down here through this parable, you know, and Jesus teaches in parables all the time, which is great because this is actually a form of teaching at his time. You know, people would teach in parables, you know, so it was a very convenient way for him to teach it because people already understood these. So, I mean, most of us could probably get the meaning of this parable, but and again, take everything I say with a grain of salt, and mind you, I mean, this is what it says to me. You know, I'm not a theologian, I'm not a priest, I don't officially speak for the church. I am not commissioned to do that. I am just a lay Catholic. That's all I am. So, you know, but for me, it's kind of like, you know, I guess in modern terms, you could say, pay it forward in a sense of like, you know, if somebody's kind to you, you be kind to someone else. Don't be kind to somebody else just because somebody else is kind to you. You know, you always be kind. You always forgive, because this parable ties right into what Jesus is saying about how many times you should forgive your brother. you should always be forgiven. You should always be forgiven. You know, because the King, who is very merciful, you know, is an analog for God, who is infinitely merciful. You know, so I mean, we should emulate what uh, what God does, you know, and that's what we're supposed to be, you know. Yeah, we're supposed to be perfect as our Heavenly Father is perfect. I mean, we will never reach that in this life, you know, because we are frail, flawed human beings, you know, we're mortal, you know, at least our bodies are. Our souls are immortal. But, you know, we should always emulate God in everything that He does because He is infinitely perfect. He is perfect love. He is perfect mercy. He is perfect forgiveness, and we should emulate that. So that's pretty much all I gotta say on that. All right. Alrighty. So for today's cigar, this is something a little different. I had actually never heard of these guys. So this cigar is from called Battleground Cigars, and from what I can read on this, this is actually called the General Charlotte Chamberlain is what it's called. So General Chamberlain. I don't know if you can, if everybody can see that. It's a nice kind of band there, and their whole kind of thing is they are, you know, it's like Civil War type of stuff, you know. And actually, when he first told me Battleground Cigars, if you're from the Lafayette area, we actually have a little town just outside of Lafayette. You know, it's like maybe a 5 minute drive outside the city limits, and it's called Battleground. So actually, I was like, "Are you guys actually met?" He goes, "No." So I just thought that was funny. But he actually about 3 weeks ago, I think he was in our shop, and I just happened to stop by. You know, we're just chit chatting. You know, and he was giving some free stuff out. Their website is a little confusing, so I had some trouble finding what this is. And again, I don't know if it's 100% of what's in. I was trying to get some of the characteristics of what's in it. So they pretty much said, so the filler is Dominican. It doesn't really have any uh, details about the binder, but from this one, I believe, and he was saying it because he was asking me what I liked. At first, I was like, well, I really like Cameroons, so see if any Cameroons. They didn't have any left with them, so he gave me a Maduro. So they said this is a 7-year-old vintage Maduro Connecticut broadleaf. All right, so that's as much as I know. I have no idea. So, but uh, oh, that's a very interesting smell, actually. It almost has a sweet bourbon smell to it. That's very interesting. It's actually quite pleasant. So, and again, it is a super dark wrapper. I mean, you can see that it's really dark, and it's probably one of the darkest Maduros I've seen. Um, it's kind of hard. I would say it's a double cap. It's really dark, so it blends in really nice. I mean, it has a slight give to the pack, but I mean, it's really nice rolled. You can kind of see the seams a little bit, and there's like one medium-ish vein in there, but it's not bad. I mean, but we'll go and get cut up and smoke it, and that's all that really matters. So, and I really hope I can get this thing lit because we're getting some really bad gusts of wind here. Might actually have to lower it if this doesn't want to go. Ooh. This thing broke, so the top of it's not going to stay. Yeah, so like I said, it is pretty chilly out here. But I got my heater, I got my coffee, so I am good to go. Ooh. So a little bit more about this company before I get into this a little bit. They're primarily out east, and they're a really small company. They've been around since 2000, so they've been around for 16 years. But they're mostly like actually where I'm at here in Indiana. This is like their western border, right? So this is the Wild West border for them. You know, which I mean, I think that's perfectly fine if you're able to support yourself in a smaller area. You know, you pride yourself on just trying to get into as many brick and mortar stores as you possibly can in an area. That's perfectly fine. You don't need to be all over the U.S. I mean, it kind of helps to be in more of a larger area because you'll have more people introduced to your product, but it depends on what your business model is. So very full. Wow. Lots of pepper on the ranchero. It's actually washing any other taste out. Wow. But that's the first go there. So pepper, that's what I'm getting. I'll be back here in about 10-15 minutes, kind of let you know what I think about it, all right? All right, so we're about 10 minutes in here. The first little bit was super strong. I mean, very, like, that's probably got to be one of the strongest smokes I've ever had in my life. Like, that little bit. The ash did just fall off in, like, I don't know, it's probably 3/4 of an inch chunk. So it fell off. It didn't really hold on very well. But right now, it's still very, very strong pepper. Like, really, really strong pepper. Um, there's a little bit of wood in there, like a heavier wood, and then also there's I just had it too, and it just blew my mind. Should have wrote it down like I had been, but a very strong espresso. That's what it was. Very strong espresso. And there's something else in there, and I can't piece it out. It's driving me nuts. Like it's almost like a when you do mouthwash, like that kind of freshness feel that you get in your mouth. That's what I'm getting off of it. But it's not. It doesn't have any flavor to it. It's just like that feeling. So interesting. I mean, it's not super deep or super complex, but it's definitely spicy. And like I really love spicy cigars, but this is almost on the edge of me too much. So, but I'll be back here when I get done with the first third or halfway through. I'm not really sure. It's a small size, so I forgot to say. I believe this is a Robusto. All right, so it's probably like a 5x50 or 5x52. I really couldn't find that out on there. So, but anyway, be back in a little bit. So we were about 25 minutes in, getting done with the first third. Let me tell you, I've smoked a lot of spicy cigars before, but this thing is like, I mean, that's its main flavor. It's just like spiciness, and it doesn't stick with the same spice. Before, it was just like a really spicy black pepper mixed in with like a white pepper kind of. Um, I was getting, after a while, I was getting some cayenne on my tongue. I was getting bits of sweetness. That kind of like espresso-y flavor is totally gone. I keep on getting hits of kind of like a darker wood a little bit. But on the retrohale, I've been getting like every 2 or 3 times I've been getting almost like a Tabasco type of flavor or flavor from it. So I mean that's what a lot of it is. There might be other flavors hidden there, but it's just so spicy. It's like overpowering my palate. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's a very, the theme of this thing is just spice, and it lingers and lingers and lingers on my palate until the next draw. I almost feel like I had eaten some decently spicy, Mexican food, just kind of, without like the Mexican spices or like flavors, but just like that spiciness just lingers in your mouth. I mean, that's what I'm getting from it. But I'd have to say, I mean, for how windy it is, it's burning. I mean, everybody just look at the burn on this thing. If I can get the focus right. I mean, it's burning really well. I mean, it has a slight bit of wave in it, but for how windy it is out here, perfectly fine. Construction is good. The draw is perfect. It's loose with that little bit of resistance. So for how kind of like light packed it is, it's smoking very, very nice. I'm very happy with it. So, but again, I mean, flavor wise, I mean, it's not super complex or anything like that, but it's not unenjoyable to smoke. All right. So I'll be back here with the update on the second third. All right. All right. So we are about 40 minutes in here, getting done with the second third. Got a bit to go here. Flavors are pretty much unchanged. I keep on getting a little bit of cedar in there, like a sweet cedarish. underneath all of that spice, and it's still the spice is just packing on, just packing on, packing on, and it's definitely a full-bodied stick. I'm starting to get slightly lightheaded or so, and I'm a pretty heavyweight when it comes to nicotine. Nicotine doesn't affect me super much. But again, I mean, one thing, construction is fantastic. Actually, I set this down for probably about 4 minutes. I went inside and did something real, came back out, and it was starting to go out a little bit, but I just puffed on a few times, and I didn't even have to correct the burn. It started burning one side, but this worked itself out like within about a minute. So perfectly happy with that. And you can see it here. I mean, perfectly nice. I can get in there. Perfectly nice. I'll focus in on there. But anyway, not too bad. So I'll be back here to kind of give you my final thoughts. All right. So we're just a little over an hour in. Just getting done here. It's not really getting. It's getting a little hot on my lips a little bit, but again, virtually unchanged. The spiciness kind of kicked down a little bit. Now it's just kind of like a woody earth. It's starting to get washed out a little bit. So if you like what I described in this, go ahead and try it. Again, it was just a spicy stick all the way through. Not really complex flavors. There's kind of different degrees of spiciness and types of spice in there, but that's pretty much what I got off of it. I only have this one stick, so I can't try another one, see maybe it was a little bit different. But again, it burned well. Construction was very great. I got an hour smoke out of Robusto, which is normal. But I'd actually like to thank, what's his name? Justin Randolph, who is the Midwest sales rep for Battleground Cigars, for giving me the sample. I really appreciate whenever reps come into our shop. They usually give out one or two free sticks for us to try. This has actually been the first one for quite a while that's happened. Because I'm not down in the shop a whole bunch. I stop in there maybe about once a week. So, but anyway, God bless everybody. Go and check out their other cigars. I'm probably gonna see if I can get a couple of their other sticks and just try them out. I really want to try the Cameroon because as of late I've been becoming a very big Cameroon fan. I still like Maduros. Maduros is still kind of like my top guys, but Cameroons can give you some really, really nice flavors just as long as the filler is a good match for it. So take it easy, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.